This show may be a trigger warning for some. Is the 2024 top in? Is the bull market over? Or where are we within the cycle? We're going to cover this and a whole lot more today. You can see the fear is increasing when it comes to the market, and most of the altcoins are starting to bleed out once again, giving up a lot of their gains. Monthly time frame down, weekly time frame down, daily time frame attempting at least to put in a little bit of a bounce, and the hourly is pulling back once again. And we have a very, very important monthly close, which is coming up today. So smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. And then congratulations again to each and every single one of you for still sticking it out through these troubled times within crypto. Let's get straight into the show content. And I want to start off with this, which is the US debt clock just increasing towards the upside, hitting new record highs pretty much each and every single day. US national debt, $35 trillion in debt over there, which is absolutely enormous numbers that most people can't even read, and ticking onwards and upwards. Now, crypto tends to follow liquidity, right? And liquidity usually comes in the form of money printing, also known as quantitative easing, which tends to occur when the US debt just keeps increasing towards the upside. Remember, we're following this 18.6-year real estate cycle from Phil Anderson, and that started in 2011. I'm going to show you what the M2 money supply looks like from 2011 to current date, and you can expect that price tends to follow these big moves, right? And you're going into the winner's curse phase right now, which is the final leg up, but many are calling ready for the end of the bull market, saying that the top is in. We'll have a look at that. We will analyze as well the bearish case to see, is the 2024 top in? Maybe we will not take out the highs at $70,000 until next year. We're going to have a look at this and a whole lot more. We'll look at the worst case scenario for where price could go in 2024 and what my real expectations are. So if you have a look in alignment with the 18.6-year real estate cycle, as well as the M2 money supply, what you can see over here is the price of the S&P 500 moving towards the upside on the blue line, and then the red is going to be the M2 money supply, and leading into that COVID period, which also had been marked as one of the shortest recessions we ever saw. You had extreme money printing. I believe $3 to $4 trillion was printed in a very, very short amount of time. And that created a massive V-shaped recovery out of those COVID lows. And then they started to go through quantitative tightening, which pretty much marked the exact cycle top. As soon as they started to tighten, price started to come down. And if you zoom in right now, where are we at? Well, we can see that there is new liquidity that's coming into the market, but prices remain relatively flat, at least for Bitcoin. And you can see it over here. For every 10% jump that you typically see in global liquidity, there's evidence that Bitcoin moves by around 90%, which is absolutely enormous. Now listen to this part over here. We've actually just had a 5% increase in global liquidity over the months of July and August, and we still saw prices being flat to slightly negative, right? Now, what does that mean for price? Well, it probably means that price is lagging, probably lagging gold, probably lagging the stock market, and you'll most likely have continuation. And here's all the data in form of the liquidity, right? We can actually look at it on this chart as well. You have the USD stablecoin supply. It is still green, but we need to see a marked uptick on that. You have the major central banks assets, which is also kind of flat over here. People's Bank of China has been printing net USD liquidity, still slightly down. So waiting for that to also turn up. But as that M2 money supply increases, that brings newfound demand into the markets. And if you have a look at this interview with Anthony Pompliano, you can see what he has to say about what may drive the markets forward in the coming weeks and months.
I think there's three main things that will break us out. First is time. People are away for the summer. We kind of go sideways historically over the summer. When people come back, they sit in front of their computers and they start buying assets. And so I think that Bitcoin will be a, beneficiary of that action. The second thing, obviously, is a Fed cut. As cheap capital comes into the market, you should see some of that capital flowing into risk assets like Bitcoin for people on Wall Street, and you'll see price kind of break out. And then the third thing is I do think that if former President Trump is reelected, there's a lot of folks who are kind of looking at him as the pro-Bitcoin or pro-crypto candidate, and I would expect Bitcoin to rally on his reelection as well.
What would change?
So there it is. Those are some of the factors: time, the Fed cut, and Trump's re-election. in my opinion, it doesn't really matter whether Trump wins or not. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be the left or the right. We've looked at the correlation between Bitcoin price over time, lining it up with those election phases. And what we've seen every single time is the markup phase takes place right into the elections. As the election begins, that is the point where you start to see prices marking up. He spoke about as well time, right? Well, this has been seasonally one of those corrective periods. Asset seasonality on average corrects over time in August and September. Q3 is usually a little bit of a slump within the market, as you can see over here. The worst performing quarter throughout Bitcoin's history, as well as Ethereum's history, is always Q3. And you know what's the best performing quarter is Q4, right? On average, putting in 88% gains, right? We just spoke about right now over here. If you have a look at this, what typically happens, right? When you increase 10% in global liquidity, well, Bitcoin usually moves by around 90%. And if you look at Q4's average returns, well, that's 88%, right? So a whole lot to look forward to, at least according to this. And seasonality, we're putting in that bottom, right? You're looking for the bottom. I'm going to show you the bear case, where even the bearish case looks for a seasonal bottom sometime over here in September. Between August and September, that's the time period that we've been focused on, which lines it up somewhere around these dates, right? I've marked off over here various different factors based on this chart, but I wanted to take this a step further and look at the sentiment that occurred in those previous cycles in this inflection point just before the price started to move aggressively towards the upside. So if you do focus on these charts over here, and I'm just going to quickly turn off cycle 3 and 4 to showcase we are in the purple phase over here. That's cycle 5. If you look at cycle 4, well, it lines up pretty similar, right? You can see soon after that you start to mark up, and if you look at cycle 3, the same thing occurs. And if you look at the timing, it actually lines up in that seasonal period between August and October is where those price cycles found their major bottom before leading into the markup phase. And this is what I found, right? Now, if you overlay that on a Bitcoin chart and you have a look at the fear and greed index, well, between these two white lines over here is the equivalent to these previous cycles. So if you look at this cycle over here, which is cycle 3, this is when cycle 3 made that seasonal bottom, which we see over here, and the fear and greed came all the way down over here to about 34. You can see first you made your bottom, bear market bottom, pushes towards the upside, gets a little bit exciting into the halving cycle, comes back down for one final shakeout and flush, and then soon after that, prices do the following, right? Prices go absolutely parabolic. And if you fast forward to the next one, well, we saw the same thing, right? Of course, extreme fear. We'll probably not see that again within the next 20 years with this type of a black swan event like COVID. First time that we've ever seen the world shut down like that. And ultimately, V-shapes out of there, gets another little slump before going full vertical, bringing newfound fear, dropping the fear and greed index all the way down to 29. And now we've seen pretty much the exact same thing, right? If you look at that over there, coming down all the way to, in this instance, 29, right? This is giving an average read because I'm on a higher time frame chart, but if you monitor this on a day-to-day basis, we actually went into the single digits on the fear and greed index over there. And right now, this is currently following pretty much a descending broadening wedge pattern on the daily time frame. You got your massive move towards the upside, descending broadening wedge pattern, which is a tough one to trade, right? Because theoretically the low time frame trends are down, lower lows and lower highs, so you have to have your validation and invalidation levels. But nevertheless, isn't it interesting how sentiment lines up pretty much to a T with that seasonal corrective phase that you typically see in the markets? Also, when you 4 and 5, well, we are in the 5th cycle, and you expect that we're right in that little pocket before things do start to move up. So I think very interesting. Now, the other that I want to showcase for why the absolute cycle top is not in, very unlikely to be in, is looking at the Bitcoin dominance. Well, Bitcoin dominance provides you a lot of valuable information. As you can see, where is Bitcoin dominance right now? It's at 57%. Bitcoin dominance is rising up towards the 60% level. So when people tell you that it's all over, pack it up, it's done, the bull run is over, wait another 3 to 4 years for the next one. This is why I would say I would take that with a pinch of salt, right? And I've overlaid over here in pink the price of Bitcoin, and then we have Bitcoin dominance, which is actually showcasing the candles. And what you will notice over here is that most of the time the market cycles top when Bitcoin dominance ultimately bottoms, right? That is usually where you see the market cycle stop. If you look over here, where did the market cycle top? Right over there. Where was Bitcoin dominance? Right at the bottom. Where's Bitcoin dominance right now? Bitcoin dominance is right at the top. Therefore, your expectation would be that the markets top on extreme greed. When the markets are in extreme greed, what are people buying? Are they buying Bitcoin? The answer is no. They are buying high risk altcoins that are on the far right side of the risk curve, as far right as you can possibly go, and therefore you'll be looking for Bitcoin dominance to break down in that environment and most likely find a bottom somewhere again near the range low. When Bitcoin dominance bottoms, that is where your cycle tops come into play, which you can literally see over there. Cycle top, Bitcoin dominance bottoms, right? If you look over here, where was the price? Well, cycle top over here. Where was Bitcoin dominance? At the bottom. So something to look at as well, additional food for thought. And if you look at the year-to-date total returns, Bitcoin is still pretty much one of the top performing assets, putting in 31%, right? Gold 21%, S&P 500 19%, and we're not even in that full-on risk-on mode, which I've showcased will come when the M2 money supply increases. So if you do appreciate that, smash the like button. And then also I will let you know there is an exchange where you can go and prep with a non-KYC exchange. I'll show you what's been happening in Brazil. It's absolutely crazy. Limitations to our freedom is definitely there within the markets. Blowfin offering you a spin the wheel opportunity, non-KYC exchange. Use the link in the description below if you want. I had a conversation with them to specifically request to put these coins on 𝗬, Injective, Rune, and Mantra because I'm bullish on those four. You get a chance if you do sign up, make a deposit, spin the wheel over there, and you could win up to 1,000 𝗬 or 100 Injective, 10 Rune, 100 Mantra, and so the wheel goes on, right? So use the link below. Now, I want to go over the bear case as well. This is at 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗓, also known as, I think his name's 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗘. He's got a pretty bearish outlook, and there are some important factors over here, so let's break it down. He says this is the thesis for bottoming, and this is what I said. Even some of the super bearish people are still following the Bitcoin seasonal pattern over the last 10 years, which showcases that bottoming period coming in somewhere between August and September. And if you go back here, this is what he says. This is the thesis for Bitcoin bottoming in Q4, right? September is historically the worst month because of seasonality. We showed that, right? If cycles still do exist, and it's not just a risk on versus risk off thing, then we are currently situated somewhere within the mid-cycle. I tend to agree, right? Where are we? That's the start of the cycle over there. We are here. That is more or less mid-cycle. I'm in agreement, right? He says, and we're looking for that mid-cycle low, so to speak. So bottoming in September and chopping into Q4 open or until 𝗖𝗔 release to start the last leg of the cyclical crypto bull run also does make sense. So the question is the bottom in? Was 53K the bottom, or is there a chance of going lower? Let's break it down. $44,000 is a standard 40% correction in Bitcoin bull markets, or the 618 fib retracement level, which is a very, very key level that could potentially be hit. However, what I would say to this is take it from my experience of 7 years in the crypto markets. Usually you get punished if you get too greedy on where you want to enter, right? So as more and more fear comes into the market, you want to have a plan to at least pyramid or scale into positions. What do I mean by that? Well, if we go to an actual Bitcoin chart over here, it would look something like this, right? So you want to stagger your orders into the market. If you have the thesis that there is going to be some sort of a bottom that is created, let's say hypothetically you do go and sweep that 40K region, it would look like this, right? So you still want to allocate a little bit of capital coming into this region over here and get your orders bigger and bigger as it moves lower. So you buy a little bit over there, you buy a little bit more over here, you buy even more over here, and as you get closer and closer to the key levels, you'll buy bigger and bigger portions into those zones. So you want to actually come with a plan and actually dollar cost average into those zones. There's no guarantee. Sometimes the market tends to front run these ideas. I remember absolutely vividly during the COVID crash how I bought Bitcoin at $4,000 and I rode the bounce up to about $6,500. Absolutely enormous profits. I went pretty much all in on that dip, and there was a CME gap which was situated at $3,583 Bitcoin, and I was looking for a rejection from the previous support flipping into underside resistance and expecting that price would go back into that CME gap. I went on a flight because the whole world was shutting down. I was leaving from Florida back to South Africa, my hometown, my home country, and on that flight Bitcoin ripped and V-shaped straight through, pretty much had to buy back at about $10,000, and we never filled the CME gap, right? From a technical analysis perspective, there was every reason to believe that we would go and fill that CME gap, but it didn't happen, as well as the inefficiency candle, the big fair value gap. But this is what you have to understand. Sometimes you need to settle for not the exact entry that you want, right? That the TA suggests, but come with a plan to at least scale in a little bit higher so you have some skin in the game in the event that you don't go down to those lower levels, because this makes total sense what he's suggesting, right? 44K is the standard 40% correction, but with institutional buying, with a at least maturing asset class, maybe we won't get the usual 40% corrections. Maybe what we got, which is the 33% correction, is it. Is 33% good enough? It could be. Remember, during the FTX collapse, there was also every technical reason for price to go down into $10,000 to $12,000. But did it happen? And the answer is no, right? Where did price go? Price went down to 15,500, missing it by a couple of percentage points. And look at where we're at now. You know where the price is right now. So yearly open has never not been retested, he says, in a Bitcoin bull market, and that's at $42,000 currently. So that's a whole lot of food for thought, right? And ultimately, if you go through to the chart over here, we can have a look at the yearly open. First, I want to just mention monthly close coming up 17 hours and 10 minutes. And I would say that as long as we can close above this level over here, which is 58,922, you keep that bullish hopium alive. Now, it's not to say you can't come back down to about $53,000 next month. That is also possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see price close over here. Next month, maybe push up a little bit, continue to chop around, go up, come down, fill a little bit of the inefficiency over here at about $53,000, and then again start to push up, maybe start to close as a green candle, and then as Cole says, chop around, right? Chop around into the US presidential election, and eventually later on start to leave that range, right? Putting in high highs and high lows. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So he speaks about the yearly open. Well, where is the yearly open on Bitcoin? The yearly open is currently situated right over here at, as he mentioned, $42,000. Now, every other cycle we've seen the yearly open taken out, but you cannot ignore what this candle looks like right now. With that being said, you also cannot ignore the fact that price is now closing again. Well, it looks to be closing again. We have 1 day, 18 hours left to go for the weekly and monthly close, looking to potentially close below the 21 weekly exponential moving average, which typically is a risk-off signal. Also, you cannot deny the series of lower lows and lower highs that are currently in play for the market. Now, what I would also say is that Ethereum has already swept its yearly open. You can see it over there. It swept the yearly open, reclaimed. Maybe it comes back down one more time. I find it incredibly difficult to think that, if Bitcoin does go for its yearly open, which is at 42K, that ETH won't take this level out. So this is the one thing that's causing a little bit of confusion or divergence between the two. You have ETH sweeping its yearly open. Bitcoin hasn't. Let's see Chainlink already below its yearly open. We can have a look at a whole bunch of different coins over here. Let's look at Solana. Solana's yearly opens coming in at 101. So these are some of the worst case scenarios, is that you go for that yearly open, right? We already have Sui sweeping the yearly open over there. Let's look at some of the other major coins. Casper, similar to Bitcoin, right? Already had the big wick to the downside, has not swept the yearly open, holding above that 21 weekly exponential moving average. Casper's yearly opens coming down at 11 cents. We'll look at some of the other big names. AVAX trading below the yearly open. Coins that are currently below the yearly open showcases their weakness, right? Capped below the 21 EMA, just riding this thing to the downside, stuck below the yearly open. It's not looking good, right? It's not looking good. Matic, absolutely shocking, rejecting of the 21 EMA below the yearly open, so bad that they've gone to rebrand their name, right? I don't know if you guys know that. They're rebranding. They won't be called 𝗏𝗡 anymore. I don't know what the name will be. Injective stuck below the yearly open, similar to 𝗏𝗡, just getting obliterated. Cardano, terrible. Here you have TON, right? Yearly open coming all the way down here at 2.3. But when you focus on this weekly chart, you can see it is looking heavy. This is why sometimes when in doubt, zoom out, right? Look at the weekly time frame to get a lot of valuable information. When you view it like this, it makes it look less attractive to buy. Let's just put it that way. Definitely less attractive. Aptos below the yearly open, getting hammered, stuck below that key level over there. Let's see Tron, which is one that has been a little bit of an outlier. Just look at it basing off that 21 EMA, holding it all the way up. Yearly open has been swept, right? The yearly open got swept over here already in April, and then pretty much onwards and upwards. So probably won't come back to that yearly open again. Let's look at some of the other big name coins. Okay, yearly open for Mantra all the way down here at 6 cents. That would be pretty cataclysmic if that level got hit, but it is holding that 21 EMA beautifully, riding it towards the upside. Same thing as Ondo yearly open. We don't want to see that yearly open get taken. That would be pretty shocking. Let's go to a couple of the other bigger names. Like, let's have a look at maybe some of the big name meme coins like 𝗕𝗚𝗚, and we can look at WIF. Yearly open all the way down here. If these meme coins were to give up all of their gains and take out the yearly open, it would look pretty bad, right? Same thing as WIF. Look at that yearly open all the way down here, and so far in the weekly time frame, it is looking heavy. What this tells you is that all you need to do is you need to be patient, right? Wait for a shift in the market, wait for a break of structure, and things could start looking good once again. So this is your daily time frame. Of course, bulls will be hoping that price continues to put in high lows over here, and if you can start to break back above $60,000, $60,093 to be precise, the risk will start to shift back towards the upside. RSI moves up, and you can look for continuation, and you better be hoping for a short squeeze, because if you go into our whale room Discord over here, and you can have a look at what's happening on the liquidation delta, you can see the deltas are negative, right? That opens up the small possibility that you might just get a little bit of a short squeeze, and you can see that over here as well. There are some big orders that got filled, $1 million orders on Binance, getting pushed, or price getting pushed towards the upside. But you do have, again, a massive sell order, $6 million worth of sell orders currently coming in at $59,000, which is why I say, getting above that $60,000 mark is going to be quite important to confirm putting in that high low and pushing price onwards and upwards. Now, if you look at this, I told you I'd tell you about Brazil. Search interest hits a 4-year high in Brazil for VPN search interest hitting an all-time high. What on earth is going on in Brazil? Well, can you believe this? The Brazil Supreme Court just came out and orders X or Twitter to be fully suspended in the country immediately, with immediate effect, right? So immediately, at least the bros in Brazil, I wonder how our friend Raymond is doing over there, if he has a VPN, because it looks like they're even saying that they're going to issue them up a fine if they're caught with VPN, $8,874 per day, which is just crazy. Honestly, I mean, guys, really need to protect your security. 2 ways to do it. You should use a VPN, and you should also have a ledger, right? There is a link in the description below if you want to take advantage of the promotional special that they're giving. You're getting up to, I think it's 73% off on NordVPN. For anyone around the world, that's less than the price of a cappuccino or coffee, and that's for a whole month, right? Not per day, but literally $3.37 per month for NordVPN, and then a ledger, protect yourself, also just a couple of $100. You're getting $10 of free BTC as well. I would say this is literally the most important. This is the most important thing you can do, is to take custody of your own coins, not your keys, not your coins, right? Not your keys, not your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your crypto. They store a massive amount of different assets on here. It looks and feels similar to an iPhone when you use those new ones. All right, so I think let's cut off over there. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it for today's stream. I'll catch you all on the next one. Is the 2024 top in? Well, possibly the 2024 top, but not the cycle top. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, and cheers for now.